Hello everyone and welcome back to another impressions video. Here trying to catch up with the games that I beat last year, and I still have a long ways to go. It was a very busy year, and so yeah, I'll be doing some kind of older impressions videos from last year, just trying to talk about the games I beat. That way I can review and just have my my own thoughts here in the channel like I typically do. But without further ado, this is an impressions video on the Gunk, a game that I found out through Game Pass, game developed by Thunderful Games. It's a Swedish video game development studio that has the SteamWorld fame. I personally enjoy the SteamWorld games a lot, and yeah, there are the same developers that have developed those games in the past. So this particular game was released on December of 2021 for a different amount different systems, modern systems, but again, I played this on my Xbox Series S via Game Pass. So yeah, the storyline, it's I really enjoyed how quick the game throws you in the thick of things, of action. The story basically revolves around Rani and Bex, which are two space scavengers that keep looking for things and parts to sell and whatnot. And yeah, they end up in this unknown alien planet looking for different resources, and as they explore the newly found planet that they discovered, they run across this weird substance known as the gunk, or that's what they call it, which has been slowly corrupting and poisoning the planet and its environment. So yeah, the goal of the game is to investigate what is the providence of this gunk material and enemies. And as you uncover more and more things on the story, you realize that there are some more to just enemies and the gunk material. The game revolves around some sort of ancient forgotten civilization. So the story definitely takes different turns and towards the end of the game, which make it very interesting in my opinion. I'm not going to spoil it like I typically do. You guys know me, but it's a very interesting story, and I really like the quick introduction. That's probably one of the reasons why I stuck into the game. I think the intro sequence, it's only a couple minutes short, and you're already playing the game, and the story is told throughout the gameplay itself. Cinematic sequences as you beat the chapters, so it doesn't waste too much of your time, and it becomes engaging towards the end. So that's something that I really appreciate. Now, in terms of the graphics, the Gunk is a 3D, 3D third-person behind-the-back view game, with colorful graphics. The gist of the graphics, or an art direction of this game is that the gunk environment, the environments that are poisoned or corrupted by the gunk obviously look dark and gloomy, but as you use your kind of like your vacuum weapon to get rid of the gunk, these spaces become very vibrant and colorful. I call that the Okami effect, because that was the first time I ran into this a weird mechanic, or not weird mechanic, but interesting mechanic, where you clean up like this polluted area, this corrupted area, and the game turns that area into a very pretty, very colorful, very plant, environmental, colorful and lush environment, which is very rewarding in any game. And I run into this mechanic in games like Okami, this game, of course, the Gunk, and there are some other games that kind of like reward you visually as you progress through the game. So that was something very cool in terms of the graphics and art direction in this game. As far as the continuing with the art direction, I think it's also interesting how the game does resemble the SteamWorld games in the character design. You have like this steampunk-ish type of characters, with mechanical parts and all that. So I thought that was interesting how the game kind of, in a way, continues that SteamWorld universe throughout, look throughout this game, which I thought was pretty interesting. The game itself has a lot of different environments, including forests, caves, alien ruins, and some labs and things of that nature. So there's a variety in terms of the environment in the game, which is good, and it goes hand in hand with the storytelling later on in the game. The lighting and particle effects in the game are also pretty good. The game is not going to blow your mind with the graphics, but the lighting effects and all that are based on time of day and weather condition and effects. And the gunk obviously plays a huge role, which is it has some nice textures in the game. As you encounter the gunk and you're using your vacuum, there are some pretty impressive effects that give the game this gloomy and dark appearance, which is pretty cool. In terms of performance, the game runs pretty well on the Series S. Good resolution and good frame rate. So nothing to complain there on my end. Now for the sound and soundtrack, there's a interesting soundtrack that focuses on ambience. Helps create an immersion factor, and goes well with the kind of like mystery atmosphere that the game portrays. I believe the music is composed by a Swedish composer that has also worked in other works for the same studio in the past. There's a combination of kind of like electronic and orchestral music with a focus on creating or helping that mysterious vibe in the game, and also creating some tension, if you will, during the battle sequences in this particular game. I think overall, there's nothing outstanding in terms of the soundtrack, but it's very appropriate for the game, and I personally enjoyed it. And as far as gameplay, it really goes around the concept of exploration. It's a third-person game that will have you explore different surroundings. At the beginning of the game, obviously you have to explore this unknown alien planet, and you soon come to realize you have to eliminate the gunk in order to progress through different areas of the game. So the game uses that kind of like vacuum weapon that you have at your disposal to clean up the environment, and at the same time also solve some puzzles. And later on in the game, you also have to face enemies. There aren't a lot of enemies in this game, especially towards the beginning of the game. So the enemy variety is not great, but it's good enough just to get through to the game. Later on, there are some kind of like more powerful enemies, but you do have the benefit of upgrading your weapon by gathering resources at this planet. So different materials that you gather from flowers and rocks and minerals allow you to upgrade your character and your equipment. So that's another component in the game that's kind of in a way addicting, and I know it had me exploring the game a little bit more in depth than I would for some other games, because I really wanted to upgrade a lot of the different equipment that your character has. So that was a good incentive, if you will, to have that mechanic in the game, allowing you to explore areas that you don't really have to explore, which kind of goes back to the I guess the nature of the game, which is it's linear, but it's not like fully on linear. Again, you can kind of like divert from the main path in order to get more mineral and resources, which is what I typically did in the game. I was not able to find like all of them, because I was able to upgrade most of the items, but not all of them. So I'm sure I could have done a better job of exploring and finding secret and new areas, but for the most part, I think I did a good job of covering some of the hidden areas in the game, if you will. And again, it's all about exploration, and the using the vacuum, which at first it can become a little bit tiring. I think the novelty of sucking up the gunk or cleaning up the gunk can become a little bit old in the sense that your vacuum is not the fastest in disposing the gunk material. So you do have to upgrade the vacuum early in the game. That's one of my recommendations. That way you can get rid of it as soon as possible, because it does take a while. That's one of my, I guess, cons of the game. That early in the game, that your vacuum is very slow sucking up the gunk. But other than that, yeah, it's a fun exploring game. You're gonna have elements of exploration to find items and solve puzzles. You're gonna have some platforming elements that that will test your platform, your 3D platforming skills. Thankfully, the game controls fairly well in that sense. The physics of your character is not it's not bad at all. It's For the most part, it's very appropriate and responsive to complete all these platforming sections. And again, the and the combat sequences are not too bad either. Again, I feel like this game doesn't shine in any particular category. It doesn't stand out because of its platforming. It doesn't stand out because of its combat system. And the exploration is a little bit on the good side. But since it's not a fully open world game, it doesn't really stand out in that regard either. However, when you put together the product, the sum of all the components, I think it makes up for a very interesting game. And this is, in my opinion, what I call the perfect Game Pass game, because this is a game that you can beat in less than 10 hours for sure. 5 hours maybe if you rush through it, but yeah, this is a game that you can beat easily under 10 hours. And again, it's the perfect Game Pass game to just load the game up. It's not going to win any awards for best game of the year or anything like that, but I had a great time playing the Gunk late last year, and yeah, I highly recommend it. I'm not sure if the game is still available on Game Pass or not, but if it is, it's definitely worth a shot, because it's a fun game. I think it does a lot of things, in a good way, and it's a good game to pass time and filling gaps between longer games, in my opinion. So with that being said, I did enjoy this game quite a lot. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you all later. Take it easy.